Chris Buckler here with Estate Agency Mastery. We're on season 2. We're on episode 5, and we have the guy needs no introduction, Stephen Brown. Stephen, we are talking about one of my favorite topics and one of yours in the estate agency. Now, some people might think we're sad for caring about database. I don't, because I want to help agents grow profitable businesses, and I know you do too. So, first of all, thank you for coming on. Second of all, database. It's not that important, right? We just go nick some low-hanging fruit and we do our door knocking and canvassing and get our pay-per-clicks out there. Like, why do we need to grow and nurture a database? It just seems a bit weird.
Well, then you've got plenty of names and numbers, so you're not doing the spray and pray approach of literally canvassing absolutely everywhere, putting letters through doors. You know, you've actually got these people's name and numbers, and you should be calling them and adding value, whether you're doing sales or lettings, and having conversations so that when they do come to sell or let, you're the only agent that they come to. But you have to give them value. But I know the next question that you're going to ask, because I'm a mind reader. You're going to say to me, Stephen, but what about if I'm a new agent and I don't have all these names and numbers?
I am, and I'm going to say, how do I grow a database? If, let's say I become self-employed, or I go and join one of the many brokerages, and I'm listening to this podcast, and I go, I know that I've listened to some huge agents from, you do some stuff with some great Australian agents and coaches. The North American agents are incredible, and they talk about daily 10-4 and adding 10 people to your database a day, and then 36 touches and all that stuff. But as a new agent, how do I do it? And is it that important? Can I just rely off the inbound leads when I nick a couple of listings? That
is your best friend. Okay, so if this is going out, I don't know if you will see it. Okay, but pick up your phone, go to your contacts and scroll right to the end, and it will tell you how many contacts you've got. Then I would phone every single one of those people and say, I've got really exciting news to share with you. I've decided to become an estate agent. I know, no booing. Okay, but I've decided to become an estate agent in Birmingham or wherever it is. You know, I'm really excited. I really want to help people. Can I ask you, Chris, who do you know that's looking to sell, rent, buy, rent out their property in Birmingham that I can help? Okay.
I love that.
And there's going to be people there that really want to help you. And then they start recommending you. And then the other thing is just ask disruptive questions. So everybody's interested in the property market. So what I would do is I would be the Google of your area. I would start off doing market reviews. Here's what's going on in the local Birmingham market. The most expensive property you've come on this week is this. The lowest property is this. Price property is this. If you're curious to know what your property is worth, click on the link below so you can capture some data, and then you can send them one of the various different reports that are out there with the various different companies. And then that's a start, and then you can start capturing them. But just ask disruptive questions.
You've done something that I don't want to brush over because it's so strong. Is not would you recommend me? Yeah, of course I would, Stephen. But who in your world, I can't remember the exact term, but who in your world has a property related requirement that I should be speaking to, right? It's a who question, not would you. Because it's so easy to do all the hard work, pick up the phone, and then think you've done a really good call, but you haven't, because you haven't asked a question that's going to lead to a result.
Yeah. Look, who of your neighbours is next looking to move?
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, do you know what? So and so from across the road, you know, they told me that in fact they had an agent coming in. You know, well, would you mind sharing my information, or would you mind knocking on their door, getting permission for them to give me their name and number, and then give them a call, and then I'll give them a call and just go from there. A lot of the things cost you absolutely nothing. It's all about asking better questions, being disruptive, and you'll be amazed at what happens.
So really interestingly, one of the things we get people in our business to do is after they've had that conversation is to WhatsApp or iMessage over their contact card with all their details and everything. So it's really easy for them to save it as well. or you don't do it straight away. In 2 or 3 days, you apologize, say, so sorry, after I call yesterday, I forgot. And then you're almost having a second bite of that initial cherry. Do you mind if we role play?
No, not at all.
You're going to be a friend of mine. I haven't spoken to you for 6 months. What do you do as a job?
What do I do as a job? Whatever you want me to do as a job.
What the last person you spoke to, what do they do as a job, unless they're an estate agent?
They were an estate agent.
Okay,
they're a football coach. There
football
you go.
coach. All right, there we go. So we haven't spoken to 6 months. I'm ringing you.
Hello, Chris. How are you? Long time no speak.
Oh, no, Steve. All good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, really well, mate. Really well.
Do you know, I was on Facebook earlier and I saw you in the coaching, and it prompted me to reach out. How's it all going?
Yeah, it could be better. My team's not doing that well at the moment, so but I'm getting there. It's a step up on the ladder, a little bit of experience.
Good on you. Good on you. Well, do you know what? I wanted to ring you because you've inspired me. I've actually taken on a coach recently, and I just wanted to ring to thank you.
Okay.
So I've started my own real estate business, my own estate agency, and I know the importance of having a coach. And by seeing the way you operate, it's kind of made me think I have to have one. Can I ask a favor?
You can ask whatever you want.
Don't worry, you don't have to do anything. I'm going to send out some marketing to my kind of local database of facts and stats and what have you. If you see anything glaringly wrong in that, would you just be able to drop me a 1 or 2 liner back to let me know?
Yeah, of course. I'm open-minded to do that. That's absolutely fine.
Thank you. Is your email still Stephen blah blah blah? Okay, perfect, brilliant. All right. Well, listen, thanks so much for that. Like I say, if you see anything glaringly wrong, just let me know. Couple of things before I let you go. Is your birthday coming up, or I got that completely wrong?
No, you're right. It's at the start of next month.
Fine. What's the date?
1st of March.
First, I'm not going to miss it. Do you like birthday cards?
I prefer sweets and chocolate and cake.
What? Come on, get me send you a birthday card. I'll send one for my new business. How does that sound?
That sounds good.
Brilliant. What was it? What is your? Are you still at Smith Street?
I am number 123.
Number 123. Okay, perfect, brilliant. Last one for me. Who in your world should I be? Right, I'm gonna end it there. Right, but it's the same thing. It's a data grab. It's the birthday, so you can go back. Can I have a favor? All of that. I don't want to dwell on why it works really well, but the reason I wanted to share that all is it's not that hard to pick up the phone if you know what to say, but you have to ask the direct question at the end. Otherwise, for me, and I'm harsh here, the phone calls are failure. So I just wanted to share that.
No, look, in life, if you don't ask, you don't get. You know, very, very, very simple. So ask the question. You may not get the answer that you want.
Yeah.
But here's one tip that I'm going to give everybody. So there's a gentleman in America called Jeb Blount, Blount, who's written a fantastic book called Fanatical Prospecting. I read his book and thought, you know what, I'm going to get him as a guest on my podcast. And then I tried 8 different ways, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to swear, sorry, your book is a load of bullshit, because I've tried every single way to get you on my podcast and you haven't done it. The 9th time I finally got hold of him and he agreed to come on. And the first question I asked him is, can I ask you why you're on my podcast? He said, Stephen, because you asked. And then he said, I want to share something else with you. He said, you can make as many calls and you can get as many rejections. And we are in a rejection. If we don't like getting rejected, we're in the wrong business. Yeah. But he said, the magic happens when you make one more call. And it's that last call where you normally get something. So always think about, when you think, I've had enough, no, make that last call, that one more call, and that's where it happens.
In my office, they used to ring me up when I started my first estate agency business, because I'd go out and it'd always be raining, and my old business partner would turn the speaker on and get the team to go, one more door, and I'd have to go and do it. Right, I had the team behind me, which is great. So okay, so let's say now I'm a self-employed agent, I've done all that stuff, and I've grown a database. Now let's say I'm an indie, I'm a mid-sized business, and we're both kind of in the same area. in the States, as you know, they talk about Keller Williams, they talk about the 36 touch, right? Now I've grown that database. Do I tag it? Do I look at what I send to it? I mean, I read a really good quote the other day, which was an agent that had it was Lee Woodward podcast, and he had an agent he was speaking to had 3,000 people in the database, which arguably is quite small. But he said, but only 6 matter because those 6 are giving him lots of referrals. We're not used to doing this in the UK, right? We send out properties of the week. So how do I make my database work for me?
Okay. What gets scheduled gets done. Okay, so the most important thing is schedule it in your diary. So I'm sure you would agree, agency is very, very simple. It's about mastering 4 disciplines. So the first discipline is creating business relationships or opportunities, because if you don't create those, you've got nothing to list. If you're lousy at listing, you've got nothing, you're going to have nothing to sell. If you can't sell, God help us all, we might as well shut up shop and go home. And you need to be a skilled negotiator. So you have to master those 4 skills. But the most important thing is you've got to create business relationships and opportunities, because if you're not doing that, you're going to have nothing to list or sell. So if you've got a ready-made customer base rather than database, you have loads of different categories on it. So you should be going through those categories on a daily basis. And your whole aim is to get 1 market appraisal a day. Now, if you can get 1 market appraisal a day, that's 250 over the course of a year. If you can convert 1 into, that's 125 instructions. And if you sell 70 of those and the average UK fee is £3,000, that's an extra £210,000 worth of revenue a year. Why wouldn't you be doing 45 minutes of creating business relationships every single day? Full stop. It's an absolute no-brainer. And when I've spoken at loads of conferences, and I ask them, stand up if you think market appraisals are the lifeblood of every estate agency. Every single person stands up. And then there's a next loaded question: stand up if you want more revenue, customer loyalty, and a higher fee. Everybody stands up. And then I say, right, stand up if you're doing 1 hour of creating business relationships every day. And there's a handful of people that stand up. Now that's scary. Everybody is chasing, all these properties, but yet they've got these names and numbers on there the whole time. You talked about low hanging fruit. They may already have been there, so they've got the names and numbers. So on the Monday, I'll be calling properties that are on the market with another agent, okay, in your area, having the conversation with them just to see, how's their shirts progressing. They're going to go, well, actually, you know what, it's pretty quiet at the moment. Oh, really? Why is that? Well, we haven't had anybody around for the last 2 weeks. Well, that's a bit strange. This weekend we had X amount of viewings, we had X amount of offers. So you're planting a seed of doubt into them. You've talked about Lee Woodward and 6 people. So he's got raving fans. So who are your raving fans? So for me, you need to actually know who your hot applicants are. Okay. And you need to be a deal maker. You need to be a matchmaker. You need to find opportunities for these people, because it's harder. It is harder at the moment, but there are still hot buyers out there. So you need to focus on them. Most people that have bought end up in witness protection. They never, ever hear from their agents. So again, I would make sure we have a proper stay in touch policy. There's an annual health check. So we go back every year on the anniversary of when they bought through that property. So we don't go into witness protection. They don't go into witness protection. You've got your withdrawn categories. You take on the property at 123 Smith Street. You should be calling every single property you've seen in Smith Street to say, Chris, I just want to let you know I've taken on one of your neighbours' properties for sale. Would you have any friends, family or colleagues looking to move nearby? Fantastic. By the way, once it's sold, would you be curious to know the new value of your home? And most people are curious to know. 2 weeks later, Chris, I just wanted to let you know, I know we spoke a couple of weeks ago. We managed to get a great offer on that property. And actually, we have 3 other leftover buyers on that. You said you were curious to know. Look, I'm going to be in your road tomorrow, 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock. What's a good time for me just to put my head round and give you an idea as to what it's worth?
Yeah.
And go from there. So again, on the letting side, we were talking about EPCs and what's going to happen in 2030. That's a reason to call all your landlords on your customer base. Have you heard what's going on? Have you heard what the government's looking to do with speeding up the digital process? You told me that you were looking to sell in a year's time because things were a lot slower. Maybe now this is a reason for you to sell because this is happening. So have a reason to call and have that conversation with them. Try and add value, make a difference.
So one of the things at Keller Williams, I won't go into all of it, but one of the gold pieces that I took was a daily 10-4. And the first two were add 10 people to your database, contact 10 people on your database. So one of the things we used to do was on Facebook, you get, say, 6 people having their birthday today, drop them a DM, not writing on their wall, how you getting on? They'll normally respond with how's things your end, same scripts that I used earlier. Hey, listen, I'm sending out, would you mind if I added you onto my database? Who in your world? And just asking that. So then you've got people to call on their birthday and check in with them, which, how nice is that? If an agent rings you on the birthday, your mates probably forget, which is so important. So for me, I think you have to be adding 10 people to your database as a minimum a day, whether you're a neg, whether you're a branch manager. Now, people don't like it when I say this and they're too busy, or they say, oh, we'll just rely on the leads. But we just had Spencer on before, Spencer Lawrence on Community, who quoted you a couple of times. You'll be pleased to know. What's your take on what I've just said there, a minimum of 10 a day, no matter who you are in that branch or as an individual agent?
You are in front of people every single day. And I would say everybody is curious to know what's going on in the property market. Everybody wants to know what their property's worth. So give you an example, I have been in restaurants and I've just started conversations. I've been in taxis. Do you own a property? How long have you lived there for? Out of interest, what do you think it's worth? I've got no idea. Are you curious to know what it's worth? Yes, because most people are curious. So you come into contact with so many people in your area. One, give back to your community. It's really, really important. But when you're having a conversation, they may be landlords. I just spoke to an agent before. I didn't know he had 8 properties, but I asked a question and he told me he had 8 properties. And then it's, okay, would you have an appetite for more? Actually, he said no. But then I said, do you have any friends that are landlords? And he said yes. And I said, how many? So he told me, and I said, and how many properties do they own between all of them? And he told me. And I said, how many of them would be interested in maximising their investment? And he said, we're all interested in maximising our investment. Great. So would you be kind enough for me to give me their name and number so I can call them and help them? And it's just by asking open questions that cost you nothing. So, and the quicker you can do it, whether it's 10, whether it's your 10 at 4, but you need to be adding to it definitely for sure every single day and building it up. But when you do add to it, make sure that you give them something of value.
Right. Okay.
Don't just, great, I'm putting you on my database and that's it. I personally don't like being called a database because it doesn't feel personal to me.
So it's customer base, right? I picked up.
Yeah. So it feels like, do you know what? I'm part of 3,000 people. I'm not that important to you. And I think what's important is we want to make everybody seem special. Because people are potentially, they're buying their biggest tax-free asset. I know, my girlfriend's looking to buy at the moment, my son's looking to buy, and some of the experiences they've had from agents is just absolutely abysmal. It's shocking.
Hence the opportunity though, right? So I'm when I hear that, I smile because I just think we can hopefully impact change. So let's say now we've got a database, we've built it up, we're making the calls, we're checking in. One thing we haven't touched upon, but just really quickly, is tagging that database so you can filter. Agents are notoriously horrific at doing that. I am an agent, I'm horrific at doing it. So my assistant now does it on my behalf because I'm just that bad at it, right? But then in terms of value, sending them a property of the week or whatever else, just doesn't work. So what should you be sending your database to keep them engaged so they don't unsubscribe from an email point of view?
Okay, so I think most people are interested in what's going on in your local market.
Yeah.
Okay, so not nationally. Okay, bring it down to Birmingham or a postcode or Solihull or wherever it is.
Great spots.
Talk about what is going on in Solihull.
Yeah.
You know, make it relevant to them. You know, be the Google of that area. For me, help local businesses as well. So, you know, I know obviously you discussed it with Spencer, but one of the things that I would be doing is going through to local businesses and saying, look, we sell loads of properties in the area. What I like to do, if it's a restaurant, for example, it's like, I'm going to recommend your restaurant. So if somebody comes in and they say, Stephen from XY Estate has sent me, would you be kind enough to give them 10-15% off? So when you buy a property a month after you move in, Chris, when I was out with you, you told me you really liked Italian. There's a really nice restaurant in Solihull. Don't laugh, it's got a really original name called the Solihull Italian Restaurant. If you go in there, tell them I sent you. When you come to pay the bill, you will get 10-15% off.
Yeah.
Okay? Nice thing to do. They're going to remember you, and the restaurant's going to be delighted because you're sending them business. Now, hopefully, they give good Italian food, so
Yeah.
you know people are going to call back. But you know, utilize all of that. Tell them what's going on, local events in the area. Maybe you want to put an end of the year cinema event on. Whatever. Maybe you're doing, you know, we've got Valentine's Day coming up next week. Do something on that.
I was just thinking there, and it came into my head, and I've not seen this before. One of the Bulldog brothers, I think it was Matt, put a post up about don't falling in love with your new home. Come on, we can do better than that. Come on. And actually, what I was thinking there is, could you pick a really nice restaurant in Solihull and do it, get ahead of the curve for advanced booking? You know, where you can book through this link 5 days before the public to one of Solihull's nicest Italians, right? So again, if I'm a bloke at home going, oh, I don't know what, oh, brilliant, yeah, that's easy, and then I go, DM and Co are great. They've saved me on Valentine's Day, right? So it's the value piece. It's not always look at this 3-bed semi and we did drones. No one gives a damn, right? It's being personable and helping and being like Spencer said, this is all omnipresent, but pushing the community and adding value so they want to open your emails. You know, that's the huge thing for me.
And look, it's all about relationships. That's what agency is all about. You know, you create the relationships, people, and it's about how can you get people to become a client, but for life. And in the UK, we are way, way, way too transactional, and we don't think about the long term. And one of the things that I took away from Marek, which you would have thought I was doing it for such a long time, it wouldn't have been the light bulb moment, is that it's not just your seller or your buyer that should become for a client for life. It's that first person that when they come into that office, when they're a tenant, when they're a buyer, how they're treated. Because if we give them exceptional customer experience, then they will become that client for life, where they're not just recommending, you know, their friends, their family, their neighbors, their colleagues, everybody, you know, their kids. If you actually sit down and work out, you know, how much business you can get from one family, and yet most agents are, oh yeah, we sold them, that's it, forget about it, their history. Why are we so transactional? It's ridiculous.
So I'm going to end on these two questions. The first one's a quick fire question. That is 5 mistakes you see agents make when they communicate with their client base. And the second one is 2 or 3 people to follow, either in the industry or outside the industry, that do a really good job with that, with the client-based communication piece. So first one, 5 mistakes you see agents make, kind of rapid fire.
Okay, so first one is they phone up and say, do you want a valuation of your property? Yes or no? Well, what's the value that you're adding there? So I've had some funny experience recently. So mistakes. Okay, so I mystery shop agents, and they don't take my name and number, so they've lost the opportunity, and they don't ask where the property is. That's one. When I've come into an estate agent and they ask me what I want, rather than yeah, that's great, why are you here, you're an estate agent, so why do you think I'm coming in, rather than what do you want, which is crazy. I'm not a big fan, and I know I said it to you when you phoned me as a football coach, where an agent picks up the phone and goes, hi mate, I'm phoning to see if I can help you. Great, this is a business relationship, and that isn't great. And what's the fifth thing? Oh, on the spot. Not making time, scheduling time in their diary to do the one most important thing, which is lead generation.
Thank you. That's the core of this podcast. And final question for me: who should we be following? In fact, where can we find you? I'll put it in the show notes. And who should we be following as well?
Okay, so you can Google Stephen J. Brown Consultancy. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook. I think SJB Consultancy. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram at Stephen Brown 54. People to follow. So I've recently done one of my new businesses is Estate Agents Learning, and I'm doing online training. I had a gentleman from Australia, Constrolopolis. He shared how he 30x his business in 30 months. And without doubt, the best estate agent in the whole wide world is a guy called John McGrath. So if you're not following John McGrath, you're mad. So listen to, and then the other thing from the States, Tom Ferry. So Tom Ferry is exceptional. John McGrath is exceptional. Con was exceptional as well. So
Stephen, as always, you've offered so much value. Thank you so much. I'm sure we'll see you again soon.
Look forward to it. Thanks, everybody.